Welcome back, everybody, to the BRUBBLE podcast. A podcast exploring, young voices and perspectives around the Brussels bubble, and occasionally ranking the most exciting European and global topics. So, joining me, I'm Simon, and this is my co-host.
Hello, and I'm Daniel, Simon's co-host.
Yes. Are we excited about the topic at hand today?
I am, yes. We had a bit of back and forth on what this third episode would be, the difficult third album. And I'm glad on what we've settled on. I think there'll be some lively debate. There'll be some roasting in the comments on Reddit, I imagine. But
you could say it's a landmark episode.
See, this
Look
is
at that. We're getting into it already.
This is why we had an audience of one there for a short moment.
Yeah.
But the man outside the box has left. So clearly he didn't think it was a very good podcast, which is understandable. Yeah.
I have a question though, because right now we're basing the podcast around the top. We've chosen for each European country a landmark, their top one landmark. So of course there'll be some debate about what it is, because some have too many landmarks. But what qualifies a landmark or a monument or whatever we have here? Because we have an eclectic mix of random things. What do you think the main theme is connecting these? Is it just a big thing they built? Because some of these aren't buildings. Is it something that represents a nation? Because some of them, aren't that representative.
I think, being iconic,
right,
is important. Like, if somebody thinks of the country, then they think of this, or it's like bigger and better than any other country's version of the same thing.
Right.
So, like, size matters in this equation.
It's an interesting thing to note because there are some interesting examples I'll bring up in that case.
Perfect.
Because some countries may have done it bigger and better. I think it's the essence of it, in a sense. There's something that could only be in that place. I think that really counts for something.
Very true, very true. Shaped by the conditions and the history and... Yeah, but it's a hard thing to nail down because there are some weird national animals, as we've seen, that represent a country, and even like a flag. Like the stories can be a little bit odd and unpredictable.
Yeah, and I will say there's some of these countries, particularly you Baltic states, stuff like that, where I'm not as familiar with history. So my shooting at which landmark should be there is up for debate. But I found some interesting ones. So without much further ado, let's get into this bracket. The way this is going to work, we've selected 32 countries, all the European member states, plus a few fun ones in and around Europe. And we've put them together, put an Excel sheet, random number generated, all random matchups, and we're going to pit them against each other. And whichever one wins will win the prize of...
getting shouted at by my colleagues.
There we go.
Tomorrow for picking the wrong one.
Right.
The Cyprus flag, some people were very upset about that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go into our first little matchup here. So our first matchup is the Irish Cliffs of Moher. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Yes, so these are some big rocks on the coast. I'm sure Dan will elaborate in a second. And the Danish Little Mermaid, which is a statue of the Little Mermaid from Hans Christian Andersen's historic fairy tale, located in the Danish harbor of Copenhagen. Would you like to kick us off this time by sharing some fun facts on the Cliffs of Moher? Because I did not do a lot of research in this one, because you, as people may know, are Irish.
I am from Ireland, so this is my big moment. I can even stop pronouncing my THs now if we're going to talk about some Irish. It's perfect. Okay, disclaimer, I've never been to the Cliffs of Moher.
It's the most popular tourist attraction in your country.
Yes, that is correct. But also, as people who've been to Ireland will know, if you don't have a car, you are in difficulty. You are shagged, basically. I don't drive, and for some reason it wasn't really on my family's radar as like a holiday spot when I was a kid.
I mean, it looks so warm and inviting.
I know. My parents have gone. They went with like some like English relatives at some point. Mm-hmm. I might have gone when I was like 2 or 3.
Backtracking already.
Double checking my mother, but okay. I don't recall ever being to Cliffs of Moher, and now you got to pay for it as well. There's a car park.
€10 per adult.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's kind of being commercialized, but they are the tallest sea cliffs in Europe, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. I think they'll claim that title.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Denmark in Copenhagen has the Little Mermaid statue. It's quite small, actually. Little, emphasize the little. It's about 1.26 meters from, if I'm correct. It's a small thing. And some fun facts about it. It's been beheaded twice. It lost an arm. It's been covered in paint 6 times. And in 2003, it was blown up by explosives and knocked off its perch.
And are these for a variety of causes or just like
I think
general vandalism?
A few of them, I think some feminist groups claim responsibility. I saw just some random things. The other thing is, this thing's easy to get at. I haven't seen it, but from the pictures I've seen, the crowds are pretty close to it. You could take a good leap and basically be on it.
See, this is interesting because I was in Copenhagen like 2 and a bit years ago, and the consensus was do not go to the Little Mermaid statue. It's a super overrated. It's like mannequin piss, like levels of overrated.
Right.
Like it's a tiny statue. At least mannequin piss is like right in the center, so you can kind of just like walk past it and you're there and you can see it for like a minute.
Right.
But with Little Mermaid, like it's actually not like very central.
They don't even dress it up.
No, they don't dress it up either. So like if you're visiting Copenhagen, you kind of have to go out of your way to see the statue. And I was like, nah, I've got better things to do when I'm here, so I didn't
So
bother
this
to
is
see it.
2 things you should have seen, but you didn't bother to see.
Yeah, but you know what? Like when I'm visiting a place, guys, I'm not like a tourist. You know, I'm a traveler. I'm not just doing the Instagram spots. I'm just going to see the Little Mermaid statue because that's what you do. I was really inhabiting the local culture, you know.
See, I was hoping you'd make a stronger case for the cliffs of Moher because I still don't know what's so special about them.
They're tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Like, is there anything else to sway me towards them? Because the Little Mermaid, I think, is a bit more. It's easier to like put on a T-shirt.
Well, like I think there is something like about the like stretching it almost into the infinite. Like if you're on the cliffs of Moher, looking out, like next stop is like Newfoundland, and there is something kind of that makes you feel very small.
Right.
If you're on like the west coast of Ireland and you're looking out and you just realize, there's like nothing out there for like thousands of miles.
And you look into the great abyss of promise.
Exactly, yeah. And you're like, oh God, Canada's over there.
So I'm just going to leave this up to you because I don't have very strong feelings either way. And every episode we've done so far, Ireland has lost first round. So do you want to push it over the edge this time, or will you take the Little Mermaid?
No, I've heard bad things about the Little Mermaid. Now, the monetization of the Moher is an unpopular thing with a lot of people in Ireland, but they are quite beautiful by all accounts. In the right weather, of course, it is Ireland. But yeah, Little Mermaid, it's cute, but like I think it's overhyped.
Fair enough. Okay, moving onwards then to our next matchup. This is the Bulgarian Alexander Nevsky Cathedral and the European Union's Berlaymont building. So the way I kind of structured this, the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral is like this, it's one of the largest Orthodox cathedrals in the world and created in honor of Russian soldiers who died defending Bulgaria from Turkey in the Russo-Turkish Wars in 1877 to 1878. It's a nice building.
Yeah, it is a nice building. It kind of looks like a couple of churches stacked on top of each other.
That's a good observation.
You know, there's a lot of different domes going on. It's kind of like, I don't know if it actually is Baroque, but it feels very kind of like OTT, and I kind of like that about it. And yeah, the gold domes as well, mixed to green. I think it's a nice color scheme. It looks kind of different to other cathedrals.
Maybe that's our Western European bias speaking.
Yeah, that's fair. I've less experience in that part of the world, but yeah, it's a nice cathedral.
Speaking about buildings that do look like other buildings, the EU's Berlaymont. I chose this to represent the EU because it is on the logo. It is kind of like the adopted monument or landmark for the European Union as the institutional part.
It is. It's a bit meh.
Any thoughts on this one?
No.
People have very strong opinions on it not being very pretty. I don't mind the free curved shape, except it gets overdone really quickly, I feel like. Like the first time you see it, you're like, ooh, that could be impressive. And then the next day it's like, oh, it's just an administrative building. It doesn't, the grandioseness doesn't stick.
Yeah, like I think the shape is interesting. The exterior though, like kind of the grade style, like almost looks like there's like like a grading over it. I don't really enjoy that. I do like to be like poster that you know that they hang on kind of the narrow end of it. That kind of adds a bit of drama to proceedings.
But I feel like if they hung this poster on that church, it would detract from the church. So what you're saying is this: it just adds a bit of spice to a building that's already kind of boring.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It adds a little bit of variety. But you know, like I don't need my administrative buildings to be beautiful. Like that's okay.
It's not administrative. It's also residence.
Oh, true.
For Ursula von der Leyen. Don't disrespect her home there.
Yeah. Apologies to her crib.
13th floor.
13th floor. Yeah. Unlucky for some, but not for her.
I guess not. She hasn't died yet. So
no.
Knock on wood there. I don't mean to curse anything there.
Yeah. Like the EU, it has some nice buildings, nicer buildings, but like it's it's a low bar.
Yeah. One other fun fact with the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral, as I move it on, I was originally going to have it twice in this list, in the fact that Tallinn also had an Alexander Nevsky Cathedral. And I thought it'd be so funny to have two of them, hopefully like match up or something. But then I realized, doing my extensive research, the Estonians hate it because it reminds them of Russia. Which I thought it'd be kind of stupid to keep it up there.
It'd be a little bit disrespectful. But yeah, you kind of pranked me last night. Like Simon sent me the list in advance, and I thought you had done another assignment on it and had put in the same monument twice, and it was just like, no, see, you twisted it against me. And there was Simon in the Estonian entry. So
I didn't want to piss off Estonia, especially
on
a sensitive issue like that.
Yeah, but yeah, the historical reasons might work against it in future rounds, but Berlaymont can't go through. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of something that has more history behind it, for both of them, Latvia, we have next up the Freedom Monument, which is a big, monument with a little woman on top. And I think it's supposed to be Nike, the goddess, and she's holding 3 stars, each of which represent one of the traditional regions of Latvia, whose names I have written down, but I will butcher, so just a warning. Kurzine, Vidzine, and Lutgate.
Let's see.
Yes. As he checks my pronunciation, it's up against Greece with their Acropolis of Athens, which I think everybody should know what that is. It hosts a bunch of ancient buildings, including the Parthenon. How is my pronunciation?
I'm going to say Kurzane, Vidzane, and Latgare. That's what I'm going to try.
I think that's a better way of saying it.
Let's just see. Well, obviously the Acropolis is much more famous than the Freedom Monument. The Freedom Monument, I don't know. It's
I will say it survived. Well, it commemorates not the First World War. It commemorates the Latvian War of Independence. I think it was in the 1920s that happened.
Okay.
But it survived the Soviet occupation, which many people didn't think it. Oh, use 2 fingers too. Which.
I wanted to get a closer look at the Latvian Freedom Monument. Okay, so. Yeah, there's some dudes at the bottom. She's way up there. I think maybe a bit too high up almost. It kind of it dulls the effect of seeing her because you can't really get a good look at her.
Right.
I understand you're kind of reaching for the sky and it's aspirational. But yeah, maybe she's too high up in that case.
Yeah. It is also kind of funny that the star she holds, the whole monument, it got kind of repurposed to allow it to exist during the Soviet regime. Mm-hmm. So they said the 3 stars were supposed to be the 3 Baltic states being held up by the great powers of communism or something, which I was like, interesting.
Yeah, sure. And interesting that it's the Greek goddess of victory and it's up against the Acropolis.
Ooh, what a great transition.
Boom.
I mean, I think we all know what the Acropolis is, what's in there.
Yeah. It's a lot of temples and stuff, and a lot of old buildings.
Did you know? This is a fun fact for this one, which is not super relevant, but it blew my mind. So I've always thought the Parthenon would be really cool to visit because in there used to be that grand statue of Athena, right? Remember the thing that was like 10 people tall and just huge, right? And as a child, I was always like, I wish I could see that. That's one of the things I wish I could have because it seems so otherworldly, right? Apparently, you can. Did you know one city in the world has a scale replica to scale of the Parthenon?
Is it Las Vegas?
No.
Okay.
It is,
Is it Athens, Georgia?
No. Closer though.
Okay.
It is, of all places, Nashville. And it has a complete scale model of the Parthenon, which is amazing. And inside it, they have like a 10-story statue of Athena. It's crazy.
Yeah. You know, when I think of Nashville, I think country music, hot chicken, and scale replicas of the Athena statue from the Acropolis. Although you have called it the Acropolis, I've noticed here.
Did I misspell this?
It's Acropolis.
It's my fancy Greek accent slipping in there.
Acropolis. Anyway,
I think we should move on now.
Yeah, come on. Sorry, Latvia. It's a good story, the Freedom Monument, and the fact it survived the Soviets is impressive. But here we go.
So something that's not the best matchup. This is more of a first round matchup. It's Slovenia and their Tromostovje, which is their triple bridge. So if you can't see by the image, it's 3 bridges which basically are super close to each other. I've probably seen the same thing in Leiden where we used to study.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then also we have it up against Cyprus with Kourion, which is like an ancient, city, which has this amphitheater, which was constructed in the 2nd century BC, which was largely destroyed and then, excavated by some guys from the University of Pennsylvania, of all places.
We are Penn State. Anyway, yeah, fine. So Tromostovje, is that's in Ljubljana? Then?
I thought it was the capital.
It's in the capital. Yeah.
To be honest, the only reason I chose this for the list is because I didn't know any other Slovenian monuments, and it's featured in Mini Europe Brussels as the only Slovenian landmark.
Okay,
so if you have issues with this, don't blame me. Write a letter to Mini Europe Brussels.
This is actually one that I've been to.
Oh, really?
I actually have been. Well, I've been to Ljubljana. I'd recommend it to any listeners/viewers. It's a beautiful city. It's an underrated country, Slovenia, I think. And I do recall this beautiful bridge.
Bridges.
Sorry, this beautiful
collection of bridges.
Complex of bridges. And why there are 3 bridges altogether?
One bridge wasn't big enough, apparently. I think that was how they did it. And then they added something on the sides. It's a triple bridge.
It's like, it's kind of like a DIY job in that case. They were like, we could expand it, or just like tack on 2 bridges either side.
I think they had some kind of plan to build it originally with 3 like this. They were just like, one just isn't going to be big enough.
Okay. Hey, you know what? They got the uniqueness factor.
Yeah. I mean, it's a landmark, right?
Yeah. And they also have like bridges there with like big like dragon statues at the end for like St. George.
I have heard that the much more impressive bridge is the Dragon's Bridge, which is like 100 meters down the road.
The Dragon's Bridge is very cool as well, mainly for the dragon statues.
Yeah.
There's one I actually have been to. I've been to one in Slovenia, but not one in Ireland. I don't know what that says about me. And then the Kourion. Yeah, I actually didn't. I saw this name on the list yesterday, and I was very curious.
Curious,
exactly, to know what it was, and that is impressive. Obviously, looking at it, the picture of the amphitheater, it's kind of like but the history.
But you can go there today.
Yeah, see?
They restored it completely for 2,000 people. You can see like Shakespeare and stuff being performed there, and it has these. If I'm not confusing it with a different one on the list, it has these amazing views of the ocean right beside it, and people say it has the best acoustics of any external open air theater in the world.
Wow. Okay. That does sound very cool. Yeah, like it kind of feels like this was like chosen all those years ago and like it hasn't changed since, like nature.
Yeah. I think the other fact is that the king wanted to fit 1/3 of his population within the whole theater. So he made it like 3,500 seats or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a football stadium that like is almost as big as the town it's in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that is pretty remarkable. And the fact that they managed to like excavate it and like reconstructed and stuff, that is pretty cool. I don't know if that loses marks. Is it like, how much of it is now authentic?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I would have to ask Penn State, but
exactly. Yeah, you'd have to go.
Does it lose marks too of being less of a landmark, so to say? Because I feel like, again, going with the T-shirt metric, which I didn't realize I was going to say going here, but I can print this triple bridge on a T-shirt and be like, I crossed all 3 bridges or something. Whereas this theater, it's like, it's just an amphitheater. I mean, it's pretty cool, and I'd love to visit it as a mature adult. But
that's a good point. This is like your drawing metric in the flags episodes. You just come up with these arbitrary things.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea I was going to come with this until 22 minutes ago. But
those are all the best ideas. Yeah, well, for me, the kind of thing that would go against it is like how much of it is from that period and how much was just kind of like rebuilt and repurposed.
Right.
Because like, yeah, whereas the Tromostovje, at least it's like that's the bridge, and they kind of just kind of wacky thing with it, and yeah,
There's a better bridge right down the street though. That's the thing, by all accounts.
Oh well, it's the triple bridge is unique at least.
Right.
I think just on the information I have, I think I'm kind of have to go for the Slovenes here.
Oh, I would have probably still gone for Cyprus with the Kourion because I would have wanted to visit it more myself. I mean,
we can do a rock paper scissors if we're at an impasse. I don't mind.
Let's do rock paper scissors.
Okay, so rock paper scissors shoot.
Yeah.
Rock paper scissors shoot. Okay,
Rock
there we
go. Cyprus moves on with Kourion.
Yeah. There we go.
You gotta stick up rocks.
That's democracy manifest right there.
Yeah. Apologies, Slovenians. I know I did you dirty in the last list.
We just really like Cyprus, actually. Cyprus really performs well in these episodes.
I'm just saying, if the Cypriot government is listening, we would happily record an episode in Cyprus if we get a trip there. Speaking of places which are expensive to visit and would love trips to, Monaco and their Monte Carlo casino versus Estonia with the walls of Tallinn, which is a stand-in for the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral in there. Okay. So I know we all know what Monte Carlo is. The walls of Tallinn are just these walls built around the city of Tallinn, built in the 13th century. They're still up today, largely intact. Quite impressive structure.
That is, yeah, because like Cork, my hometown, had medieval walls as well.
Did you even get attacked?
There was a siege at one point.
Oh, really?
That's not funny. There was a lot of issues with the British, if you might recall. Yeah.
My Irish history's not up there.
That's okay. But no, the walls of Cork are... They've excavated a couple of bits here and there, but there's very little left of it. So I'm impressed at how much of the walls of Tallinn are surviving from that period, considering that they've had a fair bit of turmoil in their history.
I'm impressed that there appears to be people living in those walls.
True, actually, from this photo, there's like kind of windows and stuff, so it looks like it could be like real like hip like artist apartments or something.
I would hope it's like the Prime Minister gets like a residence there.
Yeah, potentially. Like Kaya Callis, just at the top of the tower. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I'd like to do you have any stats like how long?
I did, but I didn't. It was a last minute write-in. I discovered way too late that the other one was a bit sensitive to Estonia.
That's fair.
I care about feelings.
But still, not familiar with them, but yeah, they look pretty cool. Monte Carlo, look, it's a big casino basically, isn't it?
Yeah, it used to provide a very large proportion of the GDP of Monaco until they branched into tourism, which I assume is still probably it.
I thought you were going to say they branched into tax evasion.
Honestly, tourism, tax evasion, and gambling. But the other cool fact is that it's owned by the royal family, basically, in the government, which is basically the royal family.
Yeah.
And apparently, if you are Monacan?
Monegasque.
Sure.
They use the French word in English as well.
Okay, fair enough.
No.
You are banned from entering the gaming rooms based on moral grounds by the Queen.
Okay, so the royal family get to cash in on this casino, but the royal subjects can't. That's some medieval stuff.
No, but it's moral grounds. You shouldn't gamble, The other filthy foreigners can gamble.
And the royal family, then we can make money off the gambling.
Yeah.
But we couldn't make money off you, our beloved citizens.
Exactly.
Okay,
you are not worthy enough to gamble in this place.
That is weird. That's so patronizing. It's like, if I want to gamble, let me gamble.
Yeah.
It'd be like saying, the royal family is running like this like bar. And it's like, oh, no, but you're not allowed to drink in the bar if you're from Monaco on moral grounds.
Yeah. We don't drink here. We just sell it to other people.
Jesus. Okay.
I mean, James Bond movie, make it a bit iconic. Other things too. So.
Yeah, like it is clearly, a legendary place. It's more famous than the walls of Tallinn.
But is that enough to propel it forwards? Because Estonia is arguably a bigger country than Monaco. It's actually a country to begin with.
It's not arguably a bigger country. It is a bigger country.
Yeah. And it's the fact that this casino is more monumental, more known than just these walls, despite the walls being super impressive. Does this mean that they need a better PR team? Is it not as iconic as the Monte Carlo casino?
No, I think the walls of Tallinn are more impressive than Monte Carlo. And now that I found out this discriminatory aspect to the casino, it makes me like it even less.
But it was home to the first women's Olympiad in 1920s.
What was the women's Olympiad in, like, craps?
No, I think they ran a bit, something like that. They did a few, like... I didn't
they
look
did
at
laugh
the
the casino.
something like that. Quickest to lose 100 quid or something.
Yeah, that's cool. But I think, the walls of Tallinn, respect to it for standing for so long.
My like classicist, stuck-up person is going to say walls of Tallinn. I mean, I do think if we're going by iconic nature, it probably should be the Monte Carlo casino. It's known.
I think we're both men of the people.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we got to go with the sturdy walls of Tallinn. The last minute inclusion, the call up.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now we have another Baltic neighbor, the last one. They're getting them over quick this time. It's Lithuanian, their Hill of Crosses, which for those listening, just imagine a hill filled with crosses.
That is correct.
And that's what it is. Against Italy's Colosseum.
Italia, il Colosseum.
Yeah. I guess starting the Hill of Crosses is a bit less known. Did you know what this was before I suggested?
No. Obviously, I was picturing a hill of crosses, but maybe not that many crosses.
It's over 100,000.
Wow.
It's a Catholic pilgrimage route. It started in like the early 1800s, and people just dumped their crosses there. And eventually it grew to quite a collection.
Okay. It's like, it kind of reminds me of, is it Pont Neuf in Paris, where they have like all the locks?
Right.
And now it's like more locked and bridge. This is like more cross than a hill. No.
Right.
Every spare square inch is taken up by a cross.
You can actually bring a cross there.
Yeah.
Unless it's up to 3 meters tall, you can plant a cross there. Which I thought was quite generous, to be honest.
Yeah,
3 meters is quite
a
big.
lot, yeah. But, it would surprise me that there'd be some people who are like, I want to be like the most penitent of all. It's going to bring the biggest cross. And
Right.
Yeah.
They probably got out of hand at some point.
Yeah, exactly. If you've been to a cemetery in Ireland, there are certain graves when people are really like to show off the biggest cross possible.
Do you know who didn't like this Hill of Crosses?
The Soviets.
Yes. They tried to bulldoze it 3 times. It kept coming back. People just kept placing it. They even started a rumor that they were going to flood the whole area. I mean, it is a hill, so it's going to be quite impressive.
Just by its shape, it would be hard to flood.
And then they tried a few other tactics, which included deeming the crosses had no artistic value, to appeal to the...
It's degenerate art, yeah.
Yeah, and they also started blocking the roads from visitors, and they started guarding the hill when all else failed, using the KGB and the Soviet army. And the hill survived.
To me, that's kind of like the Barbra Streisand effect.
Right.
Like by drawing so much attention to the hill and not putting crosses there, I think a lot of people have gone, oh, well, screw the Soviets, I'm going to put a cross there.
I'm not even Catholic, but like, hell.
It's
stick it to the regime, which is kind of why I include it, because I guess half of these are like religious churches and stuff, but...
No, but it's a good story. Like, because it kind of almost went beyond religion at that point. It was kind of like, it's kind of this act of rebellion against the Soviets. So that is pretty cool.
But the Colosseum, which is also a religious church, technically.
Please elaborate.
It's consecrated as a religious ground because the Pope wanted to keep it for himself or something.
Okay.
So each year he does a service there, actually, which is quite funny.
I did not know that. That was a good fact.
It wasn't my actual fact, but basically, we know the Colosseum built 80 years after Dimension.
By Emperor Trajan, was it?
I'm not sure, actually. I didn't write that one down because that would have been a hard word to spell.
Yeah.
So. I keep my French.
I think it might be Trajan. That's
good knowledge,
that's
Joe.
I guess.
And it fell out of favor in only 500 years. I visited this a few years ago, and it really made me feel like small. It made me appreciate my humanity by recognizing that this thing, like the prime pinnacle of like the Roman Empire, like built for sporting and stuff like that, just fell into ruin in like 500 years.
It just shows, like how long the Romans lasted, and also how long ago it was. Like the scale is crazy of time.
Yeah.
Now, what I would say is that actually the Arena di Verona is nicer than the Colosseum.
But is it bigger?
I'm not sure. I don't think it has the same number of levels as the Colosseum, but it's more intact.
Did they flood it with water and put ships in there?
That I don't know. I've been inside the Colosseum. I haven't been inside the Arena in Verona. I've seen it from the outside. But that is a very, very nice and looks like better looked after. The Colosseum, it has kind of a lopsided thing going on to it.
But that's because the wall fell down for a time.
Yes.
And there was a lot of uses of it after it fell out of favor. So in the 1200s, there were half of us being rented out as apartments and shops.
Yeah.
Which kind of blows my mind. Then some guy came in, or some medieval family, and bought out the whole thing in the 14th century to make it into a castle, which they used as a castle for a short time, which is a flex.
Well, actually, no, not a good castle, because there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of entry points there.
It's probably the worst protected lady you could get.
It's like Swiss cheese, basically. That's not going to offer much protection.
Anyways, that didn't last either. So after them, by the 15th century, it was basically just disregarded. The only people living there were bandits and stuff. And so
that is mad.
At some point, the popes were like, yo, we can't have this thing desecrating Rome. It's an eyesore. So they started having these creative uses of what they could do with the Colosseum.
Okay.
Including Pope Sextus V.
Great name.
Hint at Sextus. Or is it Sixtus? Anyways, he wanted to turn it into a wool factory to provide employment to the Roman prostitutes.
Oh, okay.
Which I was like, that's a very niche use case, but very charitable cause.
Classic Sextus. It's in the name.
Yeah. And Cardinal Altonelli wanted to use it for bullfighting, which the people didn't like that much. Although I think it's kind of reminiscent of its original.
Yeah. I think Altonelli knew his history. He realized, you know what, let's bring it back to the roots. Look, Hill Crosses, it's a good story.
Yeah.
But realistically,
it's
very creepy and haunted looking.
I wouldn't want to spend a night there.
No. It's kind of haunted graveyard vibes.
The cries of the sad Soviets,
Yeah, kind of dead Russian soldiers. So I think, the Colosseum has to go through.
Yeah, it's a bit classic. Because I am wondering if a real classic one will win this competition.
Oh la la.
And speaking of classics.
Oh la la.
It's France's Eiffel Tower competing against Hungary's Fisherman's Bastion.
Ooh, this is a good collision here. Good matchup.
I mean, I think everyone knows what the Eiffel Tower looks like, so I'm not really going to explain its look. If you don't, please get out from under your rock. I don't know how you even found this. But and then Hungary against their Fisherman's Bastion, which is kind of what's the description I have for it? It's basically just a big kind of castle thing, which is right by the water, which used to kind of have some more fishermen living around it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah,
The other choice, I think the first choice was the Hungarian Parliament building or something, and I was like, oh, I think this thing just looks nicer, and I'm hoping that's what they identify with more. But
yes, the Parliament building is beautiful as well, but maybe it's a bit more loaded.
Right.
Now, as a choice.
I mean, this one's loaded too, in a sense, because what I've realized doing these stupid lists is that everything of Hungary has a ton of symbolism, which I didn't realize they were so big on that.
They love their history.
So apparently, the 7 stone towers each of them represents one of the 7 chieftains of Hungary who founded Hungary.
Oh, okay.
So stuff like that. And then there's these statues all around it. And my other fact is that it used to be a bunch of walls, which enclosed this guild of fishermen who lived there. And they used to call it Fish Town or Water Town in the 1700s, which I thought was quite funny.
It sounds like Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Fish Town.
Yeah.
The Hungarians, they love their history and symbolism and anything to do with Tyrolls, you found?
No, I'm sure there's 20 on there. So
that's a shame.
I was going to actually include that big monument of a turtle. I should have done that. I just remember that right now.
Yeah, no, we already did it though, so it's been covered. Okay, so
Eiffel Tower. Do you think you can handle the Eiffel Tower?
In what way?
I don't know. Put it up. I don't know.
I've got up, but you take the elevator and it's fine. It's windy. Jesus, it is windy up there. It feels like you could really just get blown off at any point.
Right. I haven't been on top of it. I've walked below the bottom and stuff like that, and I was like, I'm a bit cheap to pay to go up,
Okay.
But
it's the worst view of the Eiffel Tower is at the top.
Well, funny enough, I was going to pivot this section to be more about France's hatred of the thing when it first opened.
Yes.
And there's this French author, Guy de Maupassant. He supposedly, I don't know if you've heard this, he ate lunch each day in the Eiffel Tower because he said this was the only place in Paris without a view of the Eiffel Tower.
That is correct, yeah. No, it is a good fact.
Yeah,
and it was always supposed to be like a temporary structure for like the world
20
fair.
years, I believe.
Yeah, and it just kind of kept on going. And look, it's
But why would you build something like that temporarily? Because there's another one on this list, which is all supposed to be a temporary structure for a world fair.
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to put all these resources, make this monument. You really think you're going to rip it down then?
the World Fair. It was a crazy time.
I wish I could have gone to
They
it.
just
Yeah.
seemed absolutely nuts. Like they just didn't care. No one knew about sustainability back then. No one knew about carbon footprint. They just did mad shit. And I respect that.
Speaking about world fairs, Expo 67 held in Canada in Montreal, right? Huge monument for Canada. This is going somewhere, by the way. It was held in 1967, which is like the centennial anniversary of Canada.
Yeah.
So the Montreal mayor apparently, conspiratorially, made a secret handshake agreement with de Gaulle to transport the Eiffel Tower to Montreal and re-put it up there. But they didn't go through with it.
Why do we take the Eiffel Tower and put it somewhere else?
I mean, imagine the work that had to go in to do that.
That would have been a real labour of love, I gotta say.
Yeah.
I think
But
it's
imagine
fine
the
where it
Canadian
is.
flag on top. Oh.
Perfect. Look, I think... Yeah, I know the Eiffel Tower, it kind of went through a rough patch, but when you see it in person, it is breathtaking.
And there's all these things. I'm going to move it on already. When France was taken over by Hitler during World War II, apparently he did give an order to rip it down, but it was disobeyed by his general. And what I've always thought when I was reading for that last night, I was like, damn, imagine this thing didn't exist and we heard stories of it.
I think it would have been put back up.
Probably. Yeah, I
They
guess so.
would have rebuilt it in some way. I think it's too iconic.
Kind of like how, like in Marvel, they rebuilt the Statue of Liberty or something, and they made it like this different color.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, so Fisherman's Bastion, it's also lovely, but it just came up against too strong an opponent there.
Yeah. Which you don't hear much about the French, so... Moving onwards to the Slovakians with their UFO tower.
Oh, okay, fun.
Which rogue choice there. Originally, I had the Blue Church, which was a blue church, which I visited Bratislava. I had no idea it was even there. So I was like, this is a terrible idea. I'm putting up the UFO tower because it looks like a UFO. It's basically a bridge going, for those listening, it's a bridge, but on top there's this observation deck that looks like a UFO. And it is fairly iconic. Like, if you've been to Bratislava, you remember the UFO tower.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's unique, I gotta say. Was the intention for it to look like a UFO, or was this just like people looking at it and saying, "Oh, that looks like a UFO"?
I think that at some point they realized, hey, that looks like a UFO. I couldn't find out where to, because it's actually named something like the SME Tower or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And that MES.
It's a classic thing that happens.
Something like that. But I like the UFO, and I like
No,
UFOs.
it's better.
I have this sweet magnet I bought in Slovakia for an inflated amount of money, which has it has a UFO and it's sucking up a human, and it's like, I love that.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of there's a bridge in Cork City, which was in a Tom Scott video actually a few months back, near the main park, and it's called Daly's Bridge. But because it shakes, everyone calls it Shaky Bridge. So I don't think anyone actually. Very few people know the actual name of the bridge is Daly's Bridge. I think people in Bratislava just call it the UFO Tower and don't know the real name.
The bridge itself is called the Bridge of Slovak National Uprising, but it used to be called the New Bridge because it's the new bridge crossing the river.
But now there are newer bridges.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So they renamed it back.
That's good. UFO Tower, fun, but I'm seeing a very, very nice looking castle below it.
So it's up against, we didn't introduce this yet, apologies audio listeners, but watch us on YouTube. The Romanian Corvin Castle, which I gotta admit, I didn't know Romania had such beautiful castles. It's this like really classic looking thing. It's like these red roofs. It's really well preserved.
Like how is that not being used?
Well, it was at one point. So the thing is, it was like it's built in 1446, which is super old actually.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But I think around the 1800s, 1700s, it just was abandoned for a while. And then eventually the Romanians like pulled together and really restored it, which is why it's so nice. So it is.
And then they
very
hosted
restored.
bullfighting there.
No, the prostitutes went there. But yeah.
Yeah.
Fun fact about this one: Vlad the Impaler was apparently held captive there for a few years.
Okay, yeah. It's got a really cool walkway leading into it as well. Like it's like elevated, and that seems very like atmospheric to me. Like I can picture that in the movie.
It's been in movies.
Yeah. Which movies then?
Oh damn! It's one of those horror movies where these nuns were in there or something and use this as their cloister. It's good for horror movies, basically.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see lightning striking in the background as well. Like that is a very impressive castle.
Yeah,
I have to say.
Apologies, I don't know why my thing popped up then. But I love UFOs. I love stuff like that. But the Kourion Castle just looks beautiful. And disregarding all like nationalism and stuff like that, it just looks like a great picture. And I want to visit that and to go to Romania.
Yeah, like the color scheme as well, like the color of the roof, like the tiling, that's a really nice like shade of like kind of like burnt, kind of red, burnt orange maybe.
Yeah. It looks really plastic almost, like the good kind of plastic, like real matte tone or something.
Yeah, I think Kourion Castle. I'm enjoying discovering these new things, these new landmarks.
I'm gonna become so knowledgeable or random EU trivia because of this.
Table of Quizzes of Brussels. Watch out.
I know.
Here we come.
And that actually marks the end of the first half of the list.
Okay.
As I switch over to the second one, you think it was a strong start?
I think so, yeah. I think we've also been going on for way too long as usual.
Apologies.
One day we'll learn time management skills when it comes to this podcast, but we're just too passionate, guys.
Yes. Okay, let me zoom in. Apologies for my sketchy little zooming in strategy.
That's fine. It's all in the edit, guys.
Unless I'm tired on Sunday night or something.
Yeah, also that. Yeah.
So first, on the second half of the of the bracket, is England with their Stonehenge. I was meaning to listen to that Stonehenge song by Spinal Tap or whatever that is, or not.
I'm not.
There's a good old rock song called Stonehenge or something like that.
Okay.
It's good. It's really creepy, but I like it. And Belgium with their Antomium, which is, I was looking at this matchup and I was thinking this is almost like a top 4 matchup.
Like, yeah, they're both pretty iconic, I gotta say. Stonehenge, it's, I think the mystery really helps with it, like, because there's so many, like, disputes and disagreements and theories about, like, what it was used for, and, like, the reasoning behind, like, why did they take these stones from Wales and dragged them all the ways to Salisbury to make this stone circle. Like, that is fascinating to think, like, what were they doing back then in those prehistoric times? Yeah,
because it does align with like summer solstice and winter solstice, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently there's this other legend, which is not true, it's a legend obviously, that Merlin brought them over from Ireland.
Yes, I've heard that as well. And this actually reminds me, maybe I should have put Newgrange as the Irish landmark instead. That actually is a bit like Stonehenge. That's probably better than Cliffs of Moher. But anyway, that's my problem.
The one other bad thing with Stonehenge is it's completely reconstructed. Like, it was when they found it in like the not found it, but when they rediscovered it as a nice landmark in like the 1920s, 1900s, whenever that was, it was like completely like all fallen over. And then these guys went in, took the cranes, put them all up. They actually knocked over, I think, one of the last ones that was still standing.
Just swung around too fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay, that loses marks. And like the Kourion, if it's kind of artificially reproduced.
I mean, Belgium's Antomium, which is basically like a big atom thing, built in 1958 for the Expo, like we were saying.
Yeah, that is correct, yeah.
It's also artificially reproduced, no?
It is much larger than a regular atom. That is correct.
True.
And it also doesn't even represent a real molecule. It's just a nice...
Nowadays it doesn't. Back then it was probably pretty close.
Yeah, but it's not like... It's just kind of geometrically nice. It doesn't actually look like anything real in
To be honest,
science. I
was super impressed when I first saw Atomium. It took me way too long to head out there. I've been living in Brussels for like a year. Have you not seen it yet?
I've seen it passing by on the bus.
Oh, yes.
I took the bus to Vemmel once and I saw it. I
would go there. It's honestly, it's nice.
Okay.
It's quite breathtaking because it's so weird. It's like, why would you build this? What?
Again, expos, man.
Yeah.
Expos. They just did nuts things back then.
Hey, maybe the Stonehenge was part of that. Expo 2000 BC.
Yeah, the World Expo by world, they just meant like England and Wales.
Yeah. Okay. But apparently it has a lot of nuclear history to it. Because it's supposed to be part of like the nuclear thing. It's supposed to be like for peaceful nuclear progress. Also, Belgium was a huge supplier of like the uranium for the initial nuclear stuff because it all came from Congo, which is not as nice.
I was like in Belgium.
Yeah, I was also surprised.
There we go.
But yeah.
Ooh, you know what? The atomium, I think the atomium is a nicer.
It's very
structure.
nice, and
it's shiny.
I was gonna say the one thing about it is that it's no longer original. So it was originally covered in aluminum.
Okay.
Do you know why?
No.
Because unlike uranium, it doesn't burn you when you get in it, and aluminum is used in nuclear fission reactions.
Okay.
So it's like on brand. But then when they redid it in like 2004 or something like that, they used stainless steel. Because again, this was only supposed to be up for 6 months, and people liked it so much.
Wow. Okay, 6 months. Jeez.
For the effort is almost like not worth it.
Take me back to the expo times, guys. Take me back. Yeah, I think Stonehenge. I think it's all it's artificial. It's
I think it drew all hard. Like
Yeah.
if you asked me beforehand, I think Atomium would have stood a good chance to get to like the final four in my opinion. And maybe it will too. So
I feel a lot of people I know here are a bit unimpressed with the Atomium.
They just haven't been to it, I think. Like, have you been to it? No.
Fair. You know what? Fair. We can move on. He's got me there.
Yeah. Next we have the Netherlands with Keukenhof, which is the world's biggest flower gardens. Just a lot of tulips, dahlias, and the stuff. Versus the Polish Wielska. Would you like to correct me?
Wieliczka.
Oof. Wieliczka salt mines, which is a huge mine. It mines salt from the 13th century straight up to 1996.
The year of my birth.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
It's two interesting ones, very different from each other, and also kind of unique in this
one
bracket.
below ground, one above ground.
Wow.
I mean, that would have been true for anything, but...
Wow. Yeah. So Keukenhof. I think I was supposed to go there actually, but then the pandemic happened.
Same, because I was going to bike there with some friends, and that was literally the day they announced restrictions. So we biked past some random flower stuff growing around there, but not the Keukenhof.
Yes. Yeah, no, my sister wanted to come visit me around Easter time, and then, never happened. But obviously, Netherlands very well known for flowers. This is pretty spectacular looking here. But only at certain times of the year, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, they strategically plant the flowers, so they get like a pretty long span, but I wouldn't go visit it right now, as in like in November.
Yeah, whereas salt mines are forever.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. Have you been to one?
I have not actually. I know they host events there. Like I know recently one of our execs went there for like a NATO conference or something.
Oh, yeah.
Which I feel is kind of like, it's a salt mine. I don't know. But they decorated nicely, I guess. I didn't find any pictures which captured what I thought the elegance of it would look like.
Yeah, I went to one in Romania. That was very cool. Like they had like a church in there.
This one has 4.
Yeah, like they had like there was like a go-kart track. There was like table tennis. It was like a recreation center down there. I wouldn't advise anyone to live in a salt mine, but what they had done to the place was
the
very
breathing
impressive.
heavy? Because I feel like if you go in there, like, okay, that was my thought. It'd be real stuffy. Don't know why.
I don't know. I don't really notice temperature too much. So I've seen this picture got chandeliers as well. That's lovely. I think.
Yeah. I mean, for the Netherlands, the reason I chose Keukenhof is because I was struggling to think of anything else, to be honest. Because it's like they have windmills, they have like canals and stuff like that, but those are all archetypes. They're not like a thing you go to.
A specific one. I see what you mean.
So Keukenhof is like, it's fine, but it's also like, it's not like as iconic in a sense.
No. And I think it's only at certain moments it's going to be iconic, like particularly like springtime, like Easter, tulip season. I think the salt mine is pretty cool. I think it's unique.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
I think I'd be much more impressed if I visited it. Because I don't know the skill of it. And I feel like the pictures don't do it justice.
I think if it's like the one I went to in Romania, the name escapes me, then you'd be quite impressed.
Fair enough. Yeah. I love my salt on my chips. So
there we go.
Next we have...
Ooh, okay.
We have Malta and their megalithic temples of Malta. Which are some really ancient structures. They were thought to be the oldest structures, freestanding structures on like Earth, until they discovered something new in Turkey. But they're basically a bunch of temples. And then in Austria, we have the Melk Abbey, which is this beautiful Byzantine abbey which overlooks, or Benedictine, apologies, abbey which overlooks the town of Melk.
Which is how you say milk in a Northern Irish accent.
Yes, which
Melk. It's a Melk Abbey.
Yeah, and I just thought it was about milk, and I thought that was cool. But there's another reason I included this on there, which you'll love.
Yeah, it was an interesting choice. I'd never heard this before.
I mean, it looks nice.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
But buried in there is the tomb of Saint Coleman of Stockermau. Have you heard of Saint Coleman?
There's a cathedral in Cove near Cork, St. Coleman's Cathedral. I don't know if this is the same one though, but
I believe it is, because so apparently I love this story. It happened in 1012.
Okay.
So it was a super long time ago.
Yeah.
So this guy was an Irish pilgrim en route to the Holy Land. So apparently he was crossing through Austria, which I think was a bit off course if I'm thinking of the Holy Land.
Yeah, maybe he had some friends there. I don't know. Yeah.
Anyways, he was mistaken by the Austrians for a spy.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Because of his strange appearance, they said. So you Irish people never,
fair, pale, weird,
probably drunk and stumbling through the forest.
I was going to say more like misshapen by centuries of incest. But okay.
And then, much to his greater detriment, he didn't speak German. So
wise choice.
Well, not so wise, because he was interviewed and tortured and then hung for being a spy and stuck her out in 1012.
Oh. Well, that is unfortunate. Well, he has a very nice cathedral in Cove.
Yeah.
Named after him.
According to one author, quote, he was made a saint by the local people, possibly out of remorse for the deed and become...
Possibly. I'm going to say definitely. It's just a big misunderstanding. And back then, you had no passport, you had no documents, you had nothing to show.
Yeah.
You were just some guy in town, and if you looked a bit weird and Irish...
Because he was quite off course, too. I think he just got lost and was stumbling somewhere.
Yeah, it's potentially. Yeah, he was speaking Irish, and they're like, "What the hell?" Well, interesting. Yeah, like like as a like a monk or a pilgrim, I imagine he spoke Latin.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe he didn't get to interact with the monks in the abbey. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, that's a good story, at least, and it's a nice building. I like the yellow color. But the temples of Monte, that is impressive.
Yeah, super old.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I've realized, I have to admit, as I've grown older, the more I see these really ancient piles of rock, the more I think they're just piles of rock. And maybe it's me becoming more disillusioned with like the existential nature of my life, but
perhaps, yeah, a bit nihilistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I still think it's amazing. Like I loved like watching Ancient Aliens back in the day.
Same.
And this is like one of the things that used to come up on the show.
Really?
Yeah, like like it's all these ancient places, like in Malta and Greece and Cyprus and Egypt, and I'm pretty sure this is one of the examples they're looking at, like these ancient structures, and yeah, like there's something kind of just about seeing like where we've started versus where we are now. It's like this lovely podcast studio, and it all began by just like piling some rocks on top of each other and saying "Voila, c'est chez moi." And I don't know, like that is kind of. I find that quite like beautiful.
Yeah. What I found beautiful about this, which will probably push me towards I think the way you're leaning, despite my Irish tail, was that Maltese folklore describes this as being built by giants.
Great stuff.
Which
high ceilings.
I know. As a tall person myself, I would love to build something and be mistaken for a giant and have that live on.
Built by giants or Dutch people. We'll never know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good then. That is good.
And it has a nice name. The megalithic temples.
Yeah. Yeah, megalithic, that's a good word.
Next up, we have, from the Czech Republic, we have the Prague Horloge, which is their astronomical clock, built in 1410. Mm-hmm. I've seen it, quite an impressive thing.
It is, yeah.
Which is why I chose it over the Charles Bridge and their castle, Wilt.
St. Vitus, isn't it? Yeah.
Something like that, apologies. Maybe I'm thinking of Bled. Regardless,
anyway.
Moving onwards, it's against Croatia and the Dubrovnik city walls, which are almost a more bigger version of the city walls we had for Estonia.
Yeah, and the setting is much more dramatic too on the ocean.
Yeah.
And like the way kind of undulates with the land. It is pretty spectacular, I have to say.
It's also technically older than the ones in Tallinn.
Okay.
Because these were started in 1272, but they weren't finished until the 16th century.
It's a lot of wall.
Yeah, it is.
It's a lot of wall. It's a work in progress, guys. But they got there in the end.
Can you guess who drew up the plans for the walls?
Leonardo da Vinci.
Close.
Yeah.
It was the Venetians. Was it actually him?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he was connected to Venetians. But yeah, Dubrovnik, Venetian Republic.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but then they were like traded in between them and the Muslims and the Turkish and whomever. So this thing actually served a purpose. The last war it defended against, 1992.
Of course.
When it was under siege during the Civil War in Croatia.
Yeah.
Which actually kind of blew my mind because my modern European knowledge is not that great. So.
Yeah, like a lot of stuff happened in that region back in the 90s. It wasn't a fun time. Obviously, very well known for Game of Thrones.
Is it?
Dubrovnik. Yeah, they filmed a lot of stuff there, like the shame scene, for example. That's in Dubrovnik.
I've seen clips of that, I guess.
Yeah, and now it is connected like with over tourism, and like it has more, 10 times as many people visit it per year as compared to inhabitants. But it is spectacular. There's a reason why people visit it.
Yeah. I mean, I like the clock too. The Prague Orlish, it's the oldest clock still in operation. Like in a city, I suppose. From 1410.
Yeah, it is very cool. I remember, when I was visiting my friend and his wife, she used to be like a tour guide, and she was explaining all the elements of the clock to me. I wish I could remember any of what she said, so sorry, Eva. But it was very, very interesting. And the level of sophistication that they put in back then. And also how certain things have changed, like the way they kind of, view the world.
Yeah.
But you can see that in like an object that still works like 600 years on. And that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Did she tell you also the legend associated with it?
Go ahead.
So it was built by this clockmaker. And when he finished, they blinded him so he could not make a duplicate.
Yeah.
But did you know his revenge?
He
broke
messed up the clock somehow.
He broke apart in the clock, and they couldn't figure out how to fix it for 100 years.
There we go.
Which, I guess...
That's good. Yeah. If you had your eyes gouged out, I think you'd want to be petty too. Yeah.
Personally, the walls blew me away.
Yeah, the walls are very cool.
But the clock I've actually seen, and I was like, this is cool.
I don't know. This is such a really hard one because that's very like I'm the same as you. Like so I've seen the clock, and the walls are very, very.
I say it's your choice because I kind of overruled the last one. So
I think the fact that the walls were still in use in the 90s.
Yeah, they actually served a good purpose. This clock was almost blown up by the Soviets a few times.
The Soviets tried to destroy so much in that part of the world.
It's all like the Soviets and like
the Nazis.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's a few things in. Well, we'll get eventually to a mine which was quite attacked. I guess it was by the Soviets. Anyways, there's stuff that happens. Moving on, we have Gibraltar. The Rock of Gibraltar. I always want to say Gibraltar. I don't think that's how you.
Mainly because you have spelled it as Gibraltar.
Did I spell it wrong?
Yeah, there's only one L.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's old Gibraltar.
I thought it was that. Anyway.
The Rock of Gibraltar, yeah, okay. It's, and in Sweden.
And then against the Swedish, their ship called Vasa, and I will certainly recommend you, this is the right picture of the ship of Vasa, not the wrong
Swedes
picture of the elk.
Well, my Swedish friend who commented on the elk, one of his parents, worked in that museum. So we got to be very, very careful.
So I can't make up anything about this ship.
No. Alex knows a lot about this ship, so tread carefully.
I will say, the Swedish, from what I've seen, they have the most comments about, identifying this stuff. So, whatever. Anyways, the Rock of Gibraltar, it's 426 meters tall.
Yeah.
It's a rock. I thought it was kind of cool. It's basically what defines the whole little thing.
And monkeys.
Oh, they do have monkeys. I didn't realize that was that special until you mention it right now.
Yeah, the only monkeys in Europe.
Yeah.
Native, So.
And John Lennon and Yoko Ono were married there.
I did not know that.
Well, in Gibraltar, so I assume it's on the Rock of Gibraltar.
That's the only place in Gibraltar, yeah. And there's the story about the monkeys. That monkeys disappear, then Gibraltar will fall.
I guess so. Fair enough. The
Yeah.
true protectors. Do you think it's a worthy inclusion on this list?
It's pretty spectacular, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like even going back to like antiquity, like Gibraltar and the Straits of Gibraltar and stuff. That they were pretty.
Yeah.
Oh, Straits of Hercules they were called.
Yes, because they had the
Yeah.
statues on there, no? Or is that just me making things up?
I'm not sure.
I always assumed there was actual statues of Hercules on it, kind of like. But
Nah,
anyways,
maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, Gibraltar, interesting place. It is UK. But, that's fine.
speaking about ships, though, Vasa is a Swedish ship. So it's a Swedish warship built. It took 2 years to build it, from 1626 to 1628. It was richly decorated. It was a symbol of the Swedish king's ambitions. She was one of the most powerful armed vessels in the world upon completion. And then it sank 1,300 meters into her maiden voyage. I think it was a bit too top heavy, and as soon as a little breeze came, it just toppled over. Which I don't know if I can laugh at that.
They put too much stuff on it. Yeah, they went a bit. It's like Pit My Ride, when like they would put like an aquarium, like a TV in the back of the car.
Yeah.
Like this is not going to work out in the roads. This is very unwise.
Yeah.
And then they dug it up.
Yeah, well, I guess they didn't dig it up, but they lifted it up in 1950, and they put it in a museum, and I've always wanted to go there because it looks so cool.
Yeah. Pretty impressive. Like as I said, I've got my connection up to Vast Museum, so I'll try and get you.
So if we push this through, we get a free ticket, no?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Also, like, fair play to Sweden for turning a failure into a success.
Right, because I was almost like, would you really want to make this ship like your national emblem, which certain Wikipedia pages claimed it was, despite it being such a big failure?
It just shows you time heals all wounds.
I guess on the other hand, it only got turned to this thing because it was so well preserved when it sank. So
yeah, it looks spectacular, and it is a funny story. Like the Rock of Gibraltar is a big rock. It's more the setting is kind of interesting, and the fact that Gibraltar kind of like a little country kind of defined by this place. If it was just like a mountain in southern Spain, it'd be less impressive. So I think the Vasa has to go through.
Yeah, let's sail her on. Actually complete a voyage somewhere. But moving onwards, we're almost in this first half. We actually did quite a long time on this, but we have Canada's Vimy Ridge Memorial, which is on Canadian territory in France, which is why I included it. No?
It's a very controversial move, I gotta say.
I'm gonna justify this in a second. But anyways, it's up against the Luxembourg's Hallefra, which is a big monument, kind of like the one from Latvia. It also has a golden woman on the top.
Yeah.
But this one has a bit more history behind it, so we'll get into that too.
Okay.
But Canada's Vimy Ridge, it should be on this list. It's in Europe. And it's a list of European monuments.
Carry on.
Yes, and also, it is, to me as a Canadian, we were taught, and I do believe this is one of the defining moments in Canadian nationalism.
Canadians are obsessed with Vimy Ridge, that is true.
Yes, it's the first time all 4 of our army units fought together, and we pulled off some like miraculous victory. I mean, it wasn't the greatest thing we ever did militarily wise, but it's still super impressive. We really pulled through, and we all rallied behind it as a symbol of nationalism. It's like on our money. It's like, yeah.
It's true, actually. Yeah. I didn't quite make that connection. So Vimy Ridge is in France.
Yes.
And this memorial is also in France, but kind of like an embassy. It's considered Canadian territory.
They kind of gave the land for the memorial.
Okay.
So I guess if we started, building buildings there and stuff, they'd probably be like, no.
Well, yeah, Canada's never done that before, so they wouldn't start now.
Yeah. I mean, the other cool fact, not cool, it got taken over by the Nazis in World War II, right? Which is kind of crazy, and we were really concerned about it, that they were like going to destroy it.
Yeah.
So Hitler actually did photo ops there to make sure he wasn't destroying it. Yeah, kind of like that. But he also apparently didn't destroy it because he liked its peaceful nature so much, which is kind of
Hitler,
ironic.
loved a bit of peace, that Hitler fella.
Yeah, so, I mean, I can't complain.
Okay, yeah.
I still think it's a huge part of Canadian culture, identity, almost more so than most of these other things in there. It really symbolizes a moment in Canadian nature.
Hey, look, you're a Canadian citizen as of this year, so I think, what, I'm not going to stand in the way of that. And this is just a yellow lady below her.
Golden Lady, Luxembourg's Hallefrau. It also, is a symbol. It commemorates the fallen soldiers of World War I, World War II, Korean War. It was put up after World War I. But did you know they didn't actually fight in World War One?
Okay.
Because apparently they were a neutral country, which Germany just, temporarily stepped into.
Borrowed it, yeah.
Yeah. So what they did is 3,800, Luxembourgish people who weren't living in Luxembourg joined the French army to fight on the side.
Okay.
And I think 2,000 of them died, which is 1% of the entire population of Luxembourg at the time. So this commemorates it. But it was not as lucky during World War II, when Luxembourg was actually taken over. They dismantled the thing. And they shipped in various parts.
To Montreal.
And not to Montreal. But eventually, they were starting to put it back together, and they didn't find this golden lady until 1980.
Okay, wow.
Can you guess where they found it?
Las Vegas.
Nope.
Nashville.
Nah, it's in Luxembourg, though. Where would you hide it in the city?
In the castle.
Good shout. If you said football stadium, it'd be correct. They found it under the National Football Stadium, under the main stands.
Okay, that's a good place to hide something.
I guess there's golden things there.
Yeah.
What do you think? What goes forward?
Look, yeah, there's a really good story behind the Golden Lady, and the fact that they managed to rediscover it, that is pretty cool. But at the same time, you made a very persuasive argument about Vimarage, and I'm not gonna dispute your Canadianness. So.
Exactly. And my girlfriend, who is Luxembourgish, would heavily voted in favor of the Luxembourgish one. But since you're on my side, we overpower together. So we're moving on to Vimarage.
There you go, Hannah. Enjoy that.
I don't think she will, but moving on to the second to last matchup. We are actually taking some time this time. I'm realizing by how much time you have left to record.
Yes.
But Finland's Suomenlinna.
Okay.
It is a military base built to, stand up to Russia.
Okay.
Yeah, in the 1748. Its name means Castle Finland. It's 8 little islands, 6 of them fortified. Yeah, I think it got taken over by the Russians once, though. So. Okay.
It's a little bit disappointing.
Yeah. I was surprised there was nothing cooler. Apparently, there is a minimum security penal labor colony whose inmates do work on maintaining the island.
Okay, good on you, Finland, in the already medieval conditions.
Yeah, and then it's against Spain's Cave of Altamira. I was really thinking about what to put in for Spain.
Yeah, because Sagrada Familia isn't finished yet, so you can't put it in. Sagrada Familia, the church, the cathedral, the Gaudi one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but for Spain, I was thinking of putting those really large towers in Barcelona.
You mean Sagrada Familia?
Oh, is that?
The big church.
Oh, apologies. I always thought they called the Petronas Towers for some reason. But that's something else.
That's in Malaysia.
But they look like they've been built. I don't know why they're connected in my head. But anyways, I chose the Cave of Altamira, which is that cave which has those really old paintings made by cave people, which I think is not politically correct to call them that. But yeah.
I think it's fine. Yeah, I think we can call them. Did they live in caves, didn't they?
Yeah.
Cave folk.
Yeah, and they built if you know the really famous cave painting of that big red bison, this is it. It's in here.
Yeah, kind of like the megalithic temples of Monte. It's pretty impressive to see that was construction where art had its beginning. To see this these acts of self-expression and kind of distinguishing ourselves from other species. And it's actually quite a good drawing of bison.
Yeah, I was impressed with the drawings in there.
Yeah, there's some artistically talented cave folk back then.
Yeah.
Suomenlinna, it's not doing much for me.
Yeah.
The picture's not that impressive either, I guess. That's kind of going against it. So I think Altamira has to go through. And
we'll move
now we're on the final
onwards.
one. Yes.
Final one? The Germans with their Brandenburg Gate versus Portugal's Belém Tower.
Okay.
Have you heard of Belém Tower?
I've been there. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I definitely knew it existed. It's basically a little tower which is on the tip of Lisbon, and it's the place where the ships go out to the New World and the place where they come back. Yeah. So it's a really ceremonial tower in that sense.
And they have the monument next to the Patrão de Descobrimentos, the Stone of Discoveries, which is the big statue with all the showing all the sailors going out into the New World. Yeah.
I like this one. I like the story. I'm realizing I like a lot of Portugal's artifacts, even though they relate to exploration and colonialization and slave trade. But there's some cool monuments left over. So
it is some cool stuff. Yeah, and Brandenburg Gate is kind of a bit.
But it's impressive.
It's big. I don't know. It just kind of looks like the one in Santander, really.
Yeah, but this one came first, you know.
I guess, yeah.
And I mean, I think it's a really nice piece in Berlin. It survived World War II, surprisingly, I must say.
Yeah.
I mean, not much of the top part was left. They call it a sank something. A quadringa is what it's called. The four things at the top.
Okay.
Pulling that carriage.
Yeah.
Somewhat embarrassingly, the first person to use it for like a one of those ceremonial marches was
David Hasselhoff.
Nope, it was Napoleon.
Ah, that guy.
Yeah, and he took
Love the ceremonial march.
took that quadringa to Paris with him too.
Just in time for the new movie as well.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know how to feel about that one. So.
Yeah, for another episode. Maybe it's because it's on the water too. I think I just prefer Berlaymont Tower. I was in Berlin like very recently, and yeah, you see the gate, you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. But I don't know, it didn't really.
It made a bigger impression on me. I liked it, but I do feel like it's a bit more style almost in the Portuguese little Berlaymont Tower.
I think so. Yeah, I think I sent it through.
We'll move it on. I thought Brandenburg Gate would go, but let's go for it. Okay, next round. We'll try to go for the next ones kind of quickly. Because we
just
are
one word.
Rapidly running out of time. Apologies for keeping you here a bit late.
He's saying that to the listeners as well as me.
No worries. Ireland, Cliffs of Moher versus Bulgaria, Alexander Nevsky Cathedral.
I think we got to go to Cliffs.
I think so too.
I think it's a cathedral. It's a nice cathedral, but like for me, like maybe there's the Mesquita in Cordoba in Spain. That's like one of the few cathedrals that would justify going further because that's a cathedral and a mosque.
And I feel like having seen so many old buildings, these cliffs kind of stand out a bit more. And Gibraltar didn't make it, so.
And Gibraltar didn't either. It's tough.
Yeah, tough times. Moving on. Oh, this is a very apt matchup. It's Greece with their Acropolis of Athens versus Cyprus with their Kourion.
Okay, yeah, this is a good one. Yeah, well, I wasn't too sold on the Kourion, so I think I think I will go for the Acropolis.
But what if you could go to the real one in Nashville instead?
Now we're talking. The Dolly Parton Kourion?
Yeah, I mean, it was made by a Confederate guy, so.
Oh, okay.
Although this one, I'm supposed some of these Roman dictators also, or Greek dictators, had some sketchy beliefs as well.
Tyrants.
Yeah, but I'll move it on. I think it deserves its spot.
Yeah.
Moving on, Estonia with their walls of Tallinn versus another big circular thing, Italy's Colosseum.
The walls of Tallinn look a bit more stark and cold next to the Colosseum.
Yeah, I do think the Colosseum, again, is a classic, but you can't really argue with it, especially the fact that I didn't know about the walls of Tallinn. And it was technically second choice. So I think getting to the second round is already good enough for it.
Yeah, and the Colosseum has like a fun, varied history. The walls of Tallinn have been just walls, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there were a few sex scandals involving the walls of Tallinn, so please let us know about those in the comments below.
The walls of Tallinn, it's a very dangerous maneuver. I wouldn't advise anyone to carry it out unless they're professional.
Here's a tougher one.
Ooh.
France's Eiffel Tower versus Romania's Corvin Castle.
The Chateau de Corvin.
I think people like Romanians probably like the Corvin Castle more than the French people like the Eiffel Tower.
The Eiffel Tower is kind of more of a tourist trap. Thing to see.
Plus I almost put on the Arc de Triomphe first because I was going to do monuments first, and I think it's more of a monument than the Eiffel Tower. Yeah. And there's also the Louvre. Yeah. And then there's also the
Versailles.
The church as well, the one that burned
Notre
down.
Dame.
Notre Dame. Yeah. Apologies. Should we do the controversial thing?
Go on, Corvin Castle. I think we just it's won us over with its beauty, and the Eiffel Tower. It's a little bit
what's won me over is not getting impaled by Vlad the Impaler. So be my guest if you disagree.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Next one.
Let's go. What a pace.
What a pace. Yes. Belgium's Atomium versus Poland's
Wieliczka Salt Mine.
Yes, I think Atomium for me.
Yeah, I'm a bit more on the fence, but yeah, I think let's be patriotic because I think we've dissed Brussels a lot in previous episodes in Belgium.
I actually think this is one of their best showings so far.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. Come on, let's show some love to the Atomium, and let's do a trip to the Atomium sometime. So I can actually.
I mean, the only IMAX theater in Brussels, which is partially an IMAX theater, is right outside it, so you can see it lit up at night. after you watch like a large movie there. So if you want a couple of 2 dates in one.
Spectacular.
Yeah. Your travel advice there. Malta's megalithic temples of Malta versus Croatia's Dubrovnik city walls. Both megaliths structures.
Big stone. You don't seem to be too gone on the temples, so
I think the Dubrovnik city walls just kind of has a bit more of an air to them.
Yeah, I think the city walls are kind of iconic and kind of eye-catching and like breathtaking. I would argue as well. Just in purely like visual terms. Maybe for megalithic temples and you feel the history would be a different story.
I was looking in it a bit, but I think it's just so long gone that they don't know as much. Just some temples.
Yeah, I think let's go Dubrovnik then.
Yeah. Plus, it's a cool name. It just sounds like it needs city walls when you say Dubrovnik.
It's a good point.
Next up, we have the Swedish Vasa versus the Canadian Vimy Ridge.
I'm worried about upset you if I don't go for Vimy Ridge.
It's part of my identity, you know?
As of 6 months ago.
Hey, don't point it out so strongly. I think it's a very good monument. I mean, I guess the ship, you know. See, the ship is a warship.
Yeah.
The monument is for peace.
It's a peace monument.
Yes. Are you for war or are you for peace?
Wow, okay. He's trying to catch me in this kind of blind, interesting tactic. Look, yeah, we'll go for Vimy Ridge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
okay.
fine.
Damn, I would have conceded to the ship for a record, but let's move it on before you change your mind.
Okay, no, Jesus, yeah, you're trying to make me feel like I'm going to like warmonger if I voted for Vasa, so, yeah. Maybe because I'm running out of time too, my resistance is lowered.
Spain's Cave of Altamira versus Portugal's Belém Tower is our final matchup. These actually geographically kind of make sense a bit.
Yeah. Like Greece, Cyprus as well. I think the Belém Tower. I think the Cave of Altamira. It is ultimately just a cave. It's more just the stuff in the walls of the cave.
Right. This could have been done anywhere. Just didn't survive as long.
Yeah.
Was it actually a Da Vinci level artist?
I guess we'll never know. Or was it ancient aliens?
Right.
Yeah, I think the Belém Tower. I think.
Okay.
Now I did mention this to some Portuguese colleagues, and they said that the monastery across the road is more impressive.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean,
just to be clear. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, we'll ask your input next time. Here is two next rounds, the final 8, I believe, or final 8. Mm-hmm. 2 things on cliffs: Ireland, cliffs of Moher, and Greece on the Acropolis of Athens.
Acropolis.
Yeah,
I think.
The cliffs, I think they had a good run.
Yeah, but their charms run out in the face of something like the Acropolis.
I mean, I do think it probably costs more to enter the Acropolis than it costs to enter the cliffs. So if we're being, financially astute.
Greece and Ireland, famously two countries very good with money.
I mean, yeah. Finally up, Italy and the Colosseum versus Romania and their Kourion castle.
I think the Colosseum.
Yeah, this is going to make an interesting final little matchup.
Yeah, I know. I know I was saying something to the Arena de Verona earlier, but the Colosseum is the Colosseum at the same time.
Yeah. I think we had a good exploration of all the little small ones, and they had good runs. So maybe we'll get a rogue shout from this side of the bracket, but it's looking quite traditional on the other side. Mm-hmm. Although I will say, most of the really traditional ones were put on the left side. So, apologies. Belgium's Antonia, this time versus the Croatia's Dubrovnik city walls.
It's a hard one.
I'd say you can put the Antonium on a t-shirt.
Well, I thought the t-shirt metric was dormant, but now it's back.
It's not dormant when I need it,
God, yeah, it's a tough one. I'm pretty 50-50 on this.
I think the Antomium probably edges it.
I think so too.
You gotta keep the Expo alive. This thing took 6 centuries to build.
It's a very nice photo as well of the Atomium.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were talking about the city walls.
No, it's a nice photo of the Atomium. Yeah, you know what? Come on, Atomium. Go on.
There we go.
Yeah.
We'll see how far we take it before people get pissed at us.
Yeah. Sorry for loving our city, okay?
Final one, the Vimy Ridge versus the Belém Tower. Or Vimy Ridge Memorial, I must say.
I think I've given you enough Vimy Ridge.
I'd like the Vimy Ridge over the tower.
You
I gotta
just
say
said
this
last
time-
round, I was happy to ditch it for a boat. And now all of a sudden, it's
Vimy Ridge stands for peace, right?
and tower stands for war.
slavery.
It's like, my God, okay. Jesus.
I guess if you want to... No, I think Vimy Ridge is more iconic for Canada than the Belém Towers. Your own colleagues voted against it.
That is true. But they're also very annoyed that Canada was in it, so...
This is in Europe, I gotta say. Should we do rock, paper, scissors for this one?
Yes, let's do rock.
My whole nationality depends on this one.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock again.
Vimy Ridge moves on.
He is vindicated.
Yeah. I like this. Yes, I know this.
Vim.
It reminds me of the Vim cleaning product.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah.
But anyways, the final four: the Greek in their Acropolis, Italy in their Colosseum, Belgium in Atomium, and Canada in Vimy Ridge. So
3 iconic monuments in Vimy Ridge. Yeah.
It's not.
It's iconic for Canadians only, just to be clear.
Well, it's in Europe. That's the.
I don't care. I'm just saying. It's just no one outside of Canada knows about this Vimy Ridge place.
I think they do.
I know it in the context of Canadians being obsessed with it. That's
Exactly.
what I'm say.
Where else do you know the
It's
Colosseum?
like Aussies in Gallipoli.
Do you think they know about the Atomium?
Who?
Like a foreigner.
Yes.
I didn't know it was that nice until I visited it.
Well, I think you should show the picture just to someone they know it. Yeah. But anyway, we don't have time to debate these things. So
Acropolis Athens versus Colosseum from Italy. Or Acropolis from Greece, apologies.
God, this is a tough one. These are similar in some ways, but like
I gotta say, the Colosseum it's a wreck, but it's more preserved than the Acropolis.
yes. Yeah, and I think the Colosseum too, it's been through so much, and yet
Right.
it's still hanging in there, and it's hosting masses and concerts and the like. So I think yeah, we give it to the Colosseum.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
do it. We can't let the Greeks have too much in life.
Also, it's just like one iconic structure. The Acropolis is
Yeah.
kind of like a family of structures.
Yeah, and apparently they're working on renovating the Acropolis.
Yes.
And they've been doing that since the 1960s or something.
They'll get there eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, did they get everything back from the British yet?
Oh, no,
Okay.
definitely not.
Yeah.
No,
I saw that the other day when I was in London. It was a nice collection of stuff.
yeah. It turns out if you steal, you get way nicer stuff.
Okay,
Here we go.
Atomium versus Vimy Ridge.
This is it. This is the two wolves inside of you. Come on. Let's just do the Atomium.
Well, Atomium, it stands for nuclear warfare. And Vimy Ridge,
Oh
peace.
my God. And then he's going to say the Colosseum is where people were slaughtered and murdered.
Yeah.
We have a violent history as a species, Simon. You just have to accept that.
As a Canadian, do I?
Yes.
I guess
Yes,
we do
Canada's
have
done many terrible things.
I guess the First Nations record is not the greatest, but
Come on. Look,
I'll give you the Atomium.
I think I've been very nice letting Vimy go through. Well, the last round wasn't my choice. That was rock, paper, scissors.
And the first round.
And that too, yes. I think, we're going to have to go with the Colosseum versus the Atomium.
Yeah, and matching these two up against each other in a Colosseum match, hand-to-hand combat.
Antiquity, modernity.
I do think this is a good matchup, though.
It kind of shows two sides of Europe. Like you have
Right.
the ancient history, and you have like the modern architecture, the World Expo.
Right.
Like the kind of 20th century being hopefully the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not talk about what's happened since. It's all fine. But I think, it has to be the Colosseum.
Yeah, it's very cliche. It's probably what people thought would happen.
I was also told that I couldn't come back into work if I didn't pick the Colosseum.
Oh, bias. Is that why you were so quick in this round? Well, I almost considered arguing for the Corbin Castle over it.
Yeah,
But then I was like, I don't know how much Romanians actually like this thing. Because I should ask my Romanian colleagues what they thought of it.
Yeah, it's true. It could actually be a controversial choice. We're just not aware of it.
Vlad Impaler was a controversial man, but he was kept prisoner there, so...
Yeah. So, right, well, that was a good thing, though. He wasn't impaling people then.
Well, he wasn't protecting his homeland either.
Okay, we should focus on the Colosseum since that actually won.
Yes, Colosseum. What did we learn? Lessons, reflections, moments of peaceful, arbitrary.
The
looks.
Vimy Ridge Memorial be twisted to frame whatever narrative you want. That's what I've learned.
I like the Vimy Ridge. It's
Yeah.
cool. It's in a different country. It's in Europe. I like it. I like that it's made it this far, and I stand by it. I don't care about the hate.
Just come at him in the comments, guys. Come at him. He's feeling impervious. He's like Saint Sebastian. He's got 40 hours in him, and he won't even notice.
Or St. Coleman, hung for being a spy.
St. Coleman, that poor Irish tourist. Yeah.
But I think the Colosseum, it does say that these structures have to last a bit. Because the thing about the Antomium, it could be gone in 20 years, basically. A good burst of wind, a Belgian government can't make up its mind, and it goes into... It goes away. It slips away.
It could decompose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that this thing survived for basically 1,000 years on its own volition, against all the elements and everything.
Yeah.
It's just a resilient spirit. And
baking in the Italian sun for all that time.
Yeah.
No, rispetto al Colosseo. That's what I would say.
Classic.
Yeah. Classico.
Okay. Should we end this off then? Because we're running a little over time. Apologies for doing our long episode.
We should, yeah.
Any suggestions for next week? Or not next week. Next, I think we're doing this monthly. Do let us know. I have a few ideas, as always. But
yeah. Anything short.
Well, we said no to a few topics, but yeah. Thank you, though, if you stuck us out with us for the whole thing. I hope you enjoyed our choices. Please let us know where you disagree with, what you would have done yourself, what you would have done better. And yeah, I hope to catch you soon. No goodbye from you.
Goodbye.
There we go.